I'm tired. I just can't stop yawning. I'm exhausted.
Here we have a call to order for the Bartlett Economic Development Commission meeting of March 11th, 2024. May we have a roll call?
Jerry Cabasco.
Here.
Kirsten Erickson. Robert Perry. Here. Bruce Suffern. Annette Gutenkoff. Adam Lewinsky. Mark Gorski.
Here.
And Mike Densford. 8 for 8.
Okay, next agenda item would be approval of the previous month's minutes from February 12th, 2024. Is there any discussion?
I would like to make a note that on page 2 of 5, the second bullet from the bottom talks about the addition of 2 automobile dealerships, Aldi, Moore Brewing, the 2 new auto dealerships, and other small businesses. So that auto dealerships is repeated twice in this sentence. So I would have the second one struck from the minutes so that it doesn't duplicate. There's not 4 auto dealerships, there's just 2.
We can, we'll make that change.
You can take care of that, Tony, then? Okay.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion on the minutes? Do we have a motion to approve previous minutes?
I second.
Okay. Okay, next agenda, we want to take a roll call, Tony?
Roll call on the minutes.
Or all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Public comments are the next agenda item. It looks like we probably can forego that. So we'll just move on to item number 5, which is the main topic of discussion this month, the community branding discussion.
Yes, and
Lead us through it.
should have mentioned this during the minutes. With Joey gone, this was my first stab at the minutes in, well, a few decades. And a few people didn't speak into the microphone in the minutes. I listened to it a few times, and it was a commissioner asked. I could tell what the questions were by what the answers were. So that's all. I'm just gonna, this is just a friendly reminder to make sure the green light's on when you speak in these meetings. They are recorded. So anyhow, going back to branding, we've had this on our agenda for quite some time. For tonight's discussion or update, I'm gonna probably skip all the background of it, but suffice it to say, it's something that's been in the works a long time. You recall we looked at an RFP late a year and a half ago. We issued an RFP. We had a few, whittled it down to, we had 7 responses and then 3, brought 2 before you, and then you recommended A5, which is one of the premier municipal branding firms in the Chicago area. As you saw, they did a lot of different towns. We went under contract with them this fiscal year. We've mentioned to you a few times, our fiscal years run from May 1st through the end of April. So we had a certain allocated amount for this year. And as we work on the budget for the upcoming years, the way we have this planned, it's basically a 3-year rollout. But we are basically coming up to the end of the first phase of it, which also I'm going to mention to you, they presented 99 slides to the village board going through this last month, and I whittled it down considerably from there, so you're not going to have me scrolling through 99 slides. So you recall a few months ago, we met in the overflow room and went around the table and talked about our thoughts and ideas about branding. They came before the village board for a similar workshop, did email surveys to various groups, contacts that we provided, economic development staff, myself, Scott, Joey when he was here, other staff members, met with department heads, various groups within the village, social media, lots of various ways. The Chamber of Commerce, I should mention, shared it, and they completed over 1,000 surveys. We had a few meetings in a row where they told us they were inching up 920. There's a nice number about hitting 1,000, so they got over 1,000 surveys. I think that was probably about 2 months ago. This was a nice slide. They asked everybody, including the EDC, to describe Bartlett in 1 or 2 words, and you see a lot of the ones, same ones that came, came out of the EDC meeting. And a lot of people repeated a lot of the same things about safety and values and home and supportive, welcoming community. These are some of there were quite a few pages of this, as you might imagine, but this seemed like a good sampling of some of the words that some of the people used to describe the village. They asked people what's special about it, and forgive me, again, for some of you who've been around here for many years, far longer than I have. Some are newer to the village, and you see a lot of these things come up again and again when people tell you what they like about the village in terms of some of the older architecture. Obviously, we have some of the somebody representing some of the oldest architecture here in town, and over a 40-year-old business and a barn that's over 100 years old. There's new buildings like the Aldi just finished last month. So, but diverse and older architecture in the community. I do like personally walking a lot through the community and find it very walkable. Lots of activities, partnerships, small town feel is something that a lot of towns claim, but we all know that that's something real over here. Great bike paths, parks, and open space. Bartlett, sometimes it's proven to be a detriment to recruiting some types of businesses that prefer higher density, but we're a town that has about 30% of the village as open space. Those are park districts, those are state parks and forest preserves. I have the zoning map right in my office, right next to where I sit all day, every day, and there's a lot of green on Bartlett's map. Services provided by the village, police department people commended, some of the community events, village history tied to events, civic groups. So these are some more of the things people said were special about the village. This is a lot, but some more of what they heard, again, talking about the civic groups, the feeling of safety here, the small town feel, sports. I know quite a few of you are and were involved in the various sports leagues that are here. Bartlett's always been pretty well known for that. I like that, in quotes, mindful, sustainable growth. It's not necessarily anybody, you can build anything anywhere. Bartlett has had a process, a very diligent planning process and zoning and comprehensive planning and strategic planning, like what we're doing now when we look at redeveloping the Lake Street corridor. It's been mindful, sustainable growth. Said to be strategic about commercial development on the west side. And of course, this is what kind of the branding's all about, but part of the branding needs to focus on the features of the village that draw residents and businesses. And also, by the way, stop me at any point, because I have maybe 8 more of these slides to go through to summarize.
What does the word features specifically denote?
Can you speak into the microphone, Jerry?
When it comes to focus on the features, what exactly does that mean?
I mean, that comment to me is somewhat all-encompassing. People can kind of take it, I didn't really spend a lot of time thinking about it, but I think by the features, they kind of mean a lot of these things they were talking about, the natural beauty, the dynamic businesses, all the various civic groups, the local events.
Okay, that's what.
Features is kind of a generic term to say to focus on what is it that draws business and residents.
Thanks, I thought that's what it was referring back to.
And just to be clear, we're not making any decisions here, right? This is just an update?
Right, we're gonna show you what the branding is going to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an update, and that's gonna be in a few more slides.
And then you will have a lot of decision-making regarding the branding that was chosen. We can get to that after Tony gets through the rest.
How people would like to have it perceived. Again, I don't think you're going to see anything that's too shocking to you here, but so many people talked about what a great family town it is and a great place to live and do business. Again, I mentioned we have a lot of longtime business owners here right on the EDC and people who've been involved with the business community, so you can certainly attest to that. Small town feel, but modern, friendly, nice, forest preserves, restaurants, and entertainment. This is how people would like for the village to be perceived. And the key messages that they took out of it were a welcoming community, a safe community, outdoor living and amenities, the location being convenient with the metro station right here, proximity to the city and downtown O'Hare, the outstanding services provided by the village, and schools, strong Bartlett schools with good stories to tell about their students and staff. Again, yeah, I think we didn't catch you last month speaking.
Okay, on schools, you know, back in the day, U46 didn't have a real positive image, and in trying to market Bartlett, is marketing U46 or graduation rates or any of that, is that relevant?
Yeah, that's part of it. There's all the different specialties that some of the schools have programs in terms of some are more technical oriented or some are more arts oriented. We've got quite a few village employees and also village business owners who came up through the school district. So they're looking at I mean, it's not necessarily going to be the focus of the branding, but you'll see that become a part of it.
Sometimes, as a resident, sometimes you would almost like to be equipped to be able to respond to people who flippantly say, oh, U46.
I've had that said to me, not on every business looking, but on quite a few. And we always, our reply honestly tends to be about how good the schools are within Bartlett, rather than commenting on some school or overall test scores, since it's the second largest school district in the state. I know we've worked before with say the video production they have they have different academies, I know, within the schools, and I think that's something that they wanted, that was brought up through the course of these discussions. So, you know, we want to incorporate that in part of our message. Leaning into strengths again, I know a lot of these start kind of sounding similar in terms of what people say, but again, this goes to what some of the branding will be, the civic groups, the outdoor activities, diverse tax base. We talk about that a lot over at the EDC, diverse tax base, that we've got this very well-known industrial park that kind of sprang up out of the ground over the past 20 years. so we're not overly reliant on any one business or any one industry per se. So safety, of course, we've talked about that quite a bit here over the months in terms of our branding, but the small town feel and diversity as well. You're going to see diversity in our branding. So they talked about getting creative with some of the weaknesses, and this kind of first bullet point answers your question, to find the bright spots in schools and tell some of those stories. We had a meeting with the branding consultants last week. I should mention we've typically meet with them probably twice a month since we've started this. And we were talking about storytelling. You'll see, again, some example slides coming up, but what we talk about storytelling of, hi, I'm a small business owner, here's why I picked Bartlett to do business. Here's what I like about the village. Stories of locally owned restaurants and retail. Promote the benefits of Brewster Creek. Again, we talk about it a lot here. We all know the benefits of it, but in maybe your average resident in town doesn't really know much about it. Maybe they would find it interesting that we have the largest privately owned Italian food company, probably, I was going to say Illinois. They might be just the largest, period. Rana. You might see it in the store, but you might not know that the pasta you're purchasing was manufactured and packaged and made right here in Bartlett. Success of downtowns. Of course, we're going to have businesses like Banbury Fair and More Brewing and 120 Live will become part of our branding over the course of this branding initiative. And then again, capitalize on some of the smaller events through the village. So finally, I'm going to show you, but you saw it in your packets already, the branding that was selected by the village board was We Belong in Bartlett. These are all stock photos, by the way. And it can be used also as not just We Belong, but You Belong. The consultants from A5 suggested the You Belong in terms of outward reaching, trade show marketing, whatever, sending it to some restaurant, get, some type of materials that we can use in marketing. And We Belong, anyway, it can be used in any number of ways. And these were just a few examples. They showed some sample social media posts. Of course, we're going to use branding a lot in our social media. And in terms of You Belong in Bartlett, We Belong in Bartlett. They actually took one photo they took off of, I think, the Bartlett Hills website, but just to give you a gist of what some of our branding will look like. And when we start doing this, which will be relatively soon, again, we'll be asking you, please share it. All 8 of you have unique networks of people and organizations and businesses that you're involved with, and we're going to try to leverage that as best we can. So, like I said, it can be used as You Belong in Bartlett, We Belong in Bartlett, and here's some social media. And then they added this for me to show to you folks of an example of how we can use it for business attraction and retention. So this is part of the You Belong in Bartlett branding, and you could see where we would do a map and pretend that's somebody in a food manufacturing plant picture, and pretend that those are Sonny and Perry of More Brewing standing by their equipment, and another picture, whatever we want to put in there. It's not going to be one ad that we use over and over again. We can tailor it. We can make it all industrial. We can make it all restaurant. We can make it a mix of everything. But honestly, I like the way this one looks. So,
I love this one too. And one thing to keep in mind where we would use this, that would have a pretty significant impact on one of the biggest projects that we're going through from an economic development perspective right now is adopting the Lake Street TIF. When I see this particular slide, if you look at the language that's and not in English, in between you belong and contact Tony, I could see that slot being car counts, Bartlett school test scores, demographic reports, and that would be sent to every single broker and developer in the area to help facilitate their interest in Lake Street and developing in Bartlett. If that, that's kind of one of the things I envision from a slide like that.
that is, like I said, 99 slides put into about a dozen or so. The board took a look at a few different options. The You Belong and We Belong one just gives a sense of inclusion and welcoming. And that's what we're looking to convey with this. Can be used in a number of ways, as I mentioned a few times, and Scott and I are here to answer any questions or comments that you have about it. But you'll be seeing it for a while. The last branding, the Never Far Away, that we're still using is something that was one of my first projects in early 2006 when I came to the village. And I want to mention two of the people here were on the EDC back when we did that. And so it's worked well for a long time.
So Tony, you said there's 99 slides. Are they going to be using all of those 99 slides, or are these like the final slides, the final images that'll be projected?
Oh, no, the slides were I'm just referring to how many that the branding consultants went through with the village board.
Okay.
When they went over the answers, for instance, that people said, they gave statistics. I think we can share all of that if you want to see it. It just gave a lot of statistics of like who answered, what different groups answered. I took probably 10 slides of what people said, or 20 slides of what people said in the village, and just whittled it down to maybe 4. So the slides aren't what we're going to use in the branding. The branding's going to be things that look like this, or look like this. It's something we could put on folders, banners, giveaways, but just the way marketing has gone over the last decade or so, it's going to be like a lot of social media and e-blasts. People don't really want folders filled with paper information anymore.
So Tony, do we know what this is going to cost?
Yes. Well, I mean, we budget for this. So the first year, we budgeted $25,000, and that's what we're going through right now. That's what we've almost spent. But that's going to include some upcoming photography and there's more work to be done this fiscal year. After tonight ends, we still have almost 2 months in our fiscal year. We're going to keep doing some branding with them. We're budgeting $50,000. The village board hasn't approved our final budget, but that's what Scott's here putting together our administration department budget, requesting that for next year. And that,
Second year is 50,000?
yes, that gives us a list of things that we're going to do, or that I should say we're requesting to do, which besides the social media and some print ads and things that I talked about, we're investigating some, advertising beyond just the Bartlett area, maybe in the Chicago area, looking at doing some radio spots, possibly some TV, stuff like that.
Well, what about the third year?
Well, we haven't gotten there yet, but I'm assuming we would be budgeting a similar amount.
Also, too, the difference between this current year and next year is that we don't have data to show us in terms of an ROI and the money we're spending in terms of engagement. So one of the things, as we go through this branding campaign, we track all our analytics on social media, and we'll be able to see how high our engagement is. We'll be able to see how high it is on which posts. We might do, and the branding rollout will kind of follow the calendar. For example, springtime, we're going to highlight the golf course. Summertime, your events and your fests from the 4th of July through, Ignite the Courage and things like that, all the way through Oktoberfest. So the branding will kind of flow with our calendar, and we'll have analytics and data to justify our expenditure from year 2 to 3. That makes sense?
Am I hearing that this is going to be an annual expenditure?
We haven't determined that
Foreseeable
yet.
future?
It could end up where we end up doing it on a continual basis. There could be a hybrid of working with the consultants and just village staff doing some of it. We're really too early on in this process to say that. For the time being, when we've worked with the consultants, typically they explain to us that they've worked with a lot of towns. They do what we're looking to do in 3 years over kind of a 1-year blitz type of period. We're budgeting more conservatively. Instead of spending $125,000 in 1 year just doing an all-out blitz, we're doing it pragmatically and step by step. So if you're asking what we're going to do beyond the 3rd year, we don't know that yet, but we still take ownership of this branding. So there's not, we can still put that on. We don't have to hire a branding consultant every time we put "You Belong in Bartlett" on a Facebook post saying, "Come visit Oktoberfest."
And whether or not the village continues to work with A5 will be dependent on pretty much 3 categories. 1, the data we receive, the analytics that we can measure. 2, probably your input, but 3, most importantly, the strategic plan. And right now, it's in the village's strategic plan as a short-term goal, which is 1 to 3 years, hence the 3-year thought process. Yeah.
I like the "You Belong" and "We Belong in Bartlett." I don't like the pictures at all.
The pictures are just stock photos. I mean,
Yeah, I just
I
don't
don't-
think it's the diversity of our,
Yeah.
I don't see the Bartlett I live in those photos, but I do like the "We Belong." I love the bike path. I think that's great. I think the little hipster dude with his ponytail is great, because that's part of it. The kids are cute, but I just would value more diversity in what's put forward.
we could
Tony.
probably, one of the things, and again, this is new to, it's new to everybody. Tony did it in '06.
Yep.
But one of the things too that will get your involvement to is like, here's 3 different options. What do you like the best? Those types of things.
Tony, do we know how we're getting a bang for the buck?
I mean, we,
In other words, the money we're spending is supposed to do certain things. Do we know if we're getting our money's worth? Are they providing what we should get for the money?
Well, in terms of, there's a couple different ways to answer that. One is the data and analytics that I'm speaking to. I know that doesn't put bricks on the ground, but it is a key, a very important aspect in terms of the engagement, which kind of is what marketing is essentially. But the other thing too, when we get prospective developers that call, we ask them where they heard about it, or they may mention one of the village things, and we'll make sure that if they know the branding and familiar with the branding, we'll also know that. That's not as measurable, but that's really the second factor, if that answers your question.
And a lot of that was gone through when we were first selecting them as well, and when they were here presenting with us, telling us how they were walking through the plans, what they were going to look for the return, you know, driving the traffic on Facebook, seeing the hits, seeing how long people stay on the pages and stuff. And we just can't have that until it comes out. So, I mean, it's designed so that it can be pivoted based on what's coming out.
As far as I recall, there were several phases to the development of the program. And I think we're just finishing up the initial stage, aren't we?
This is the initial, that's a good way to put it, finishing up the initial stage, coming up with what the brand actually is, in terms of something that we hope is memorable and resonates and can be used in a variety of ways. Like I said, I haven't really seen branding before where people change words, where it can be I belong, you belong, we belong in Bartlett. So yeah, that's the end of the first phase, which was really the consultants engaging, you know, quite a bit, trying to get a good sense of the village, and then coming up with something they thought we could use and benefit from.
And so, in that respect, then, it seems like we are moving along successfully and realizing our goals and getting our money's worth out of it.
I would agree with that, with the caveat of what you've been asking and a lot of the trustees about, you know, seeing how, you know, seeing some of these statistics and some of this feedback, you know, over the coming months and years.
Has this information been shared with staff, village staff, the
I
board?
mean, it was at not the last village board meeting, but the board meeting prior to that. So perhaps not all village staff, but I think we've talked about it quite a bit at the staff meetings. As a matter of fact, this morning at our staff meeting, told everybody what the branding is.
Players in the village are aware of this.
I'm sorry, who in the village?
The key players in the village are aware of this.
Well, we're getting there. We're making some of the eight of the key players, you folks.
Are you talking about that work here? I'm sorry. Or,
He's talking about legal and,
Village board are,
Okay.
they're up to date with what's going on in this.
Yeah, the board selected this one over, there were a few others presented. They liked this one better than some of the other ones that were presented.
I think it's great. I really like it. You may or may not remember, when we met with the group, one of my requests was more awareness of where Bartlett is, because I frequently hear, you know, where is Bartlett? So just a thought perhaps for the future, these signs that we belong in Bartlett, if we could make some signs that could be put, I could see a sign like that by the gazebo, and people would love to take their picture by that sign, by the gazebo, or by strategic areas or strategic places that would kind of give the citizens a benefit from this.
Bruce, I
Great
think
idea,
it's, I'm sad I didn't think of that myself. I think it is a fantastic idea, and what we'll do to kind of go along with what you're saying is we'll look at signage. We actually we make our own signage in-house now, and we'll bring it on the road. We'll bring it to every fest that there is and put it out there and make sure that the branding becomes a part of all our fests too, because our fests are a big part of the National Night Out and the 4th of July Fest and Oktoberfest and Merry and Bright. Those are all big parts that we want to feature. So consider that signage there.
I think the people could really rally behind this if in addition to the website marketing, there was some, tangible signage marketing to go with it.
Yeah, the We Belong in Bartlett would be easy to use as the frame, because you know how everyone loves to hold those photo frames and stuff. I mean, that would be great to have at the different festivals, like National Night Out with a We Belong, and I can imagine how many kids and characters and stuff would be in there. That would be a very good, and then they drive their own social media. You don't have to do any of the work.
And people that go to the golf course, Bartlett Hills Golf Course, there should be one there all the time. Certain places, I would think they should be there permanently to actively promote and give the residents something.
Tag it, share it, get drawn into a contest to win X. A cheap organic way to
I like that idea. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, we could resurrect the pairs again, too.
No, we cannot.
One is We Belong, and the
cannot.
other one is You Belong.
Those pairs are gone, sorry.
I got one.
Very good idea, thank you.
So I do want to, just to your point, because I get that more often than anything. Where is Bartlett? Good idea doing all this. How does that address where is Bartlett? Kind of my question. Should we be doing more pictures, more pictures like on the back here? I mean, should it actually be awareness of literally that we're a western suburb? Is that where you're going with this? Like,
A little bit. There's just a vagueness as to where we are.
I think when those pictures are taken and they're shared and liked, the narrative along with the picture could highlight the actual physical, geographical location, X miles away from O'Hare Airport, that type of thing. We'll talk about where we stand on the Milwaukee West Line, things like that.
okay. Cardboard cut out of Illinois with your face in it. Says we belong. I'm just saying we might want to be on the nose with some of this on these slides of like literally where it is, because I think it's a major problem.
That's a good point for when we advertise outside of town. That comes up again and again in my travels, where I end up explaining to people where it's at, and
You say you know where Schaumburg is, right? And then
yeah,
green stop between Schaumburg and Elgin,
with somebody in Schaumburg who actually asked, yep.
I used to tell people that the Tri-Village wasn't Streamwood, Hanover, and Bartlett. It was Geneva, St. Charles, and Bartlett. That was my new Tri-Village.
That's good branding.
Well, you'll be seeing this again over the coming months and years. Just wanted to keep you all apprised, since we've been talking about branding for such a long time.
Very good.
I think Commissioner Perry brings up a good point about how do you measure bang for the buck? Are there actually any measurable metrics that you can apply to a program like this?
I mean, again, they're measuring engagement.
But I think, not to speak for him, maybe it's, have we determined what those bars are? I mean, obviously there is, how to measure your return and the certain analytics for it, but do we have expectations that we want to meet? And are those set out in advance, or is that just a moving target as we go?
Beyond the social media aspect of it, which is a major aspect of marketing, we have other tools like permit fees, vacancy rates, and all those will be part of the algorithm to determine the marketing success. Did that answer your question?
Well, kind of. I'm just wondering, I guess my specific question would be, do you have in advance what you'd consider that to translate to being a success, And I understand that it's going to go, there's a lot of factors, and it's advertising and borderline impossible to judge, but do you have expectations for certain metrics?
I would say what we would be looking at internally is our growth year year over year, and then compare the growth post this marketing, post the launch of it. That's part of how we would measure it. But we're also going to be talking with them in more minutia and detail about the data collection as we go to phase 2, once it's approved by the village board per the budget.
Cool.
Well, isn't the growth more determined by how well the economy is doing rather than this?
Well, it's a number of things. I mean, you're getting at the kind of the crux of economic development. Part of it's due to external factors. Some of it's due to internal factors like marketing to specific businesses. There's lots of businesses that may not have come in to the village if it wasn't for some of our efforts. So it's not an all-encompassing strategy. It's part of our economic development strategy to go along with some of the incentives that we have, some of the available spaces. I think it was just last month I went over the economic indicators. So you see that most of our spaces are filled. So like Scott mentioned, we're going to be using this for some marketing initiatives to attract additional development. And for some of the spaces, yes, it would happen without it, and for others, it wouldn't unless we do a real lot of marketing and a real lot of outreach. So it's part of our economic development toolbox. It's not the only part, it's a part.
Okay, if that concludes our discussion on branding, we can move on to the next topic, which would be Chamber of Commerce update. Commissioner Gudenkauf?
Thank you. Chambers going strong. We have our chairman of the board here, Kirsten Erickson. We just finished up our resource guide, our business and community resource guide. I'll pass some of those down. We print 11,500. We send out about 11,000. We mail directly to businesses and residents in town. We do have people calling at the beginning of the year wondering when they're going to get those. So, you know, there are some people that are, think paper is a waste, but there are still some that really like it. We tried to incorporate a little bit more. We are the official chamber for both Bartlett and Hanover Park, but we do have members from about 30 different towns. So some businesses can join multiple chambers for the different towns. So I think probably one of the things that we excel at is that we are really active. We have a lot going on, a lot of events. We have leads groups. We do the ribbon cuttings. It would be our great wish that we could have all new businesses coming to town join the chamber, so we can help them in any way that we can. We have different educational sessions, and again, a lot of multi-chambers, so we can bring in some pretty good, big groups. We host something in September-ish that's a progressive luncheon where people change tables with each course, and we typically have about 200 people attend that. So we have some pretty good events. We just finished, of course, Casino Night, which was a sellout again. The last 3 or 4 years have been sellouts. A great time. So our next big event is our golf outing, which is May 16th, so put that on your calendar. And as with all of these events, you don't have to be a chamber member to participate, so we bring in a lot of the community. And then, of course, we have Oktoberfest that we do in the fall with Lions, Rotary, and the Chamber, now the 3 of us. So that is quite a big undertaking, so if anybody wants to get involved in that, we have sponsorships and volunteer positions, and it's it's a big deal. So, but yeah, so I did try to include more. Hanover Park has been difficult to bring in their businesses, partly because many of them don't speak English, so that's a real struggle. But I did include Hanover Park on the cover this year, so hopefully that will appease them and make them happy. But, yeah, so we do have a lot of residents that call the chamber asking for referrals, particularly businesses where they're coming into your house, painters, plumbers, whatnot. I had somebody call a while back that was looking for a roofer, and I said, I have a couple of recommendations I can give you. One in particular I have used and have been so satisfied with. I attended a talk that he was at, and he talked about how they are not the cheapest, but why they're not the cheapest, and he gave great details and really sold me. But I said, even if you don't use any of my referrals, that don't use a door knocker. Use, if you go with somebody in the chamber, they tend to be more reputable. They've made a commitment to the community. They're people that live around here that you're going to see in the grocery store. And when you need help or you need a follow-up, they're there. You can reach them. So belonging to the chamber does definitely give your business credibility. So we're always looking for referrals. So if anybody knows of any businesses that would like to join, we would love to talk to them.
Is it just, other than language perhaps, is it just price that's the barrier to get everybody to join?
What, you're saying that perhaps they don't want to because of the price?
Yeah, like why wouldn't everybody join?
Well, the majority of the businesses are $20 a month. So I don't know that that's a deterrent. We have different rates, whether it's nonprofit, home businesses, up to the big guys. And then we have a lot of opportunities from premium sponsorships where we have.
So do you think it's more awareness then?
I think we have good awareness in Bartlett. I think we struggle with Hanover Park when we became the area chamber for the two of them. Hanover Park didn't have a chamber, and we don't really have enough boots on the ground to really attract a lot of people from Hanover. I know it's pretty easy for me, obviously being a banker too. A business comes in and talks to me, and I'm like, you gotta go join the chamber. So it's a pretty easy thing. But it's more grassroots here, where we don't have those people in Hanover Park who help us get that and stretch it out to Hanover Park. And then there are quite a few. The majority of the restaurants in Hanover Park are Hispanic, and they are not English speaking at all. And we don't have that Hispanic element of our chamber. And the other part of it is the Hispanic chamber is coming out very, very strong and really going after those people and really supporting them and doing a very good job picking up those members and really bringing business sense to them. So in a way, we would almost be serving some of those. It's better that they're going with the Hispanic chamber, some of those businesses. But we just don't get as much from Hanover. And I mean, it really is, the book is funny because you do talk about paper and the flashback of it and stuff. It's funny since the chamber's gone back to our little thing, because we put everything on social media for all of our events, but since we've gone back to this dorky little thing, like all the members are like, oh yeah, I need that because I need to know where the different dates are. I know, it's so some of our things from our past are like, looking back and are very helpful. And then the resource guide really does become kind of, in a way, like the phone book of Bartlett. So if you need something, yes, it's online, but it's kind of got this little phone book feel to it, so.
And all of our businesses are listed in there, usually at least 3 times, once alphabetically, and then they can choose 2 categories for the directory. And then there's a lot of other opportunities as far as advertising, or if there are premier members, or in their leads group or something. But our whole goal is just to get their name out there and information out as much as possible. And if there's a business that's struggling, come in, we want to talk to you, or we'll go to them. How can we help you? What can we do? How can we help you the best that what do you need? So, that's what we're there for, is to try to help the businesses to succeed and get the word out.
And the village has been very great. I mean, our new ribbons for the ribbon cuttings are branded for the business, which is very cool. I mean, our ribbons are now, it used to be kind of embarrassing, our little ribbon that we'd roll out, but now it's very well done and, very, very professional, so. Great partnership.
It's been real nice because those scissors always haven't been busy, and they've been very busy lately, so we're happy about that.
Thank you.
And we don't do just new businesses, but we'll do an anniversary, or if somebody has a grand opening that they've remodeled or something like that, or anything we can do to, to bring awareness to your business. And I think our last member meetup, we call it, and it's just once a month, we say what restaurant we're going to be at, so it's an opportunity to support a particular restaurant. But we were at Moore, and we had close to 30 people come in. And it was nice because there was only one other table with 2 people at it while we were there. So had we have not come in that day, it would have been a pretty slow day for them. So businesses seem appreciative when we do that, so. Oh, and then also, we have been doing trips, putting together trips, and we're actually, next week, we leave for Ireland, and the next fall trip will be to Switzerland. And it's really surprising to me that the people that attend, this is a small group that we're bringing to Ireland, there's only 29, but we've had as many as 45 going to China. And I would say half of them maybe are from Bartlett, but they're from all over. They're Hoffman Estates and Palatine. And there was one recently, a town, I've lived here forever, and I've never even heard of that town before. So, but it seems to be a lot of repeat travelers and a lot of people that are saying, oh, I know somebody that went on your trip and they highly recommend it. So it's been fun. It's just, we say it's a great way to travel. You may travel solo, but you're not alone. So we have a lot of widows that go, just people maybe whose husbands don't want to travel. Maybe they traveled for work and they're over it. So a couple girlfriends will go, or sisters, or we've had family reunions where they've come from other states and come together, and it's just, it's really taken off, and people seem to enjoy it.
Are there times when you would like to have members of the EDC be at a certain occasion?
You're welcome anytime.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
There is one in particular that I would love to get as many people as I can, and that's on March 14th, our midday meetup at Ambrosia Eatery. It's on 59 in Stearns.
Ambrosia? Yeah?
And that's just an informal, everybody shows up, they don't pay anything for it other than they order their own lunch, and it's just, I'd like to get a lot of people at that one.
So you would like members to,
I would love it, yes.
okay,
Even our ribbon cuttings and whatnot.
it's Wednesday, isn't it?
I believe it is a Wednesday, yeah.
That is Wednesday.
Thursday.
Is it a Thursday?
Who would be going at the Ambrosia that we would meet and you would like us to meet?
I would like to show support to Ambrosia, is what I would really like. But there will be all different people there.
It's a hodgepodge, it's different
It is a
business
Thursday.
owners, different times, depending on when they can get away for lunch, because it's over the lunch hour and stuff. So obviously, if it's a restaurant we haven't been to in a while, it gets a little bit more of a pull and a turnout. You put the name more out there and people are gonna go because they haven't been there before. Same thing with Ambrosia, last time we had it there, it's been a while, they had quite a good turnout. We just did the ribbon cutting, obviously for Dog Father, there was a very big turnout there. But yeah, if you're not following our chamber page, we'd like you to follow our chamber page and see what's going on, because there's a lot of events posted there.
I have to say, without exception, every time we go out to a business, whether it's a ribbon cutting, a good morning event, an evening after hours, whatever it is, I always hear the words, I didn't know. I didn't know this was here. I didn't know you did that. There was always some I didn't know, and that's why we do it. That's why we bring the people in.
That's our motto.
Yeah, so,
Maybe a suggestion would be that if you have our emails, that you could send us something to say that, hey, this is going on so-and-so date.
okay.
That would be a reminder for us that if we can go, we can't have the excuse that we didn't know.
Okay.
And we can make an effort also to bring the chamber list, the activity thing, each month to this meeting as well, and give it out to you as well. Because everyone likes the little flyer. I don't know what it is about that little flyer.
They do, the little strip.
Yeah.
The other thing too is if you're not getting our emails, we could put you on our email list too. And Mary from the office sends out at least once a week with what's going on for the week.
We're not on your email list? We should be,
Some of
shouldn't we?
you are, traditionally, it's for members, but I will definitely add you. So Mary Smith, and she watches and knows who opens her emails, and she takes it very personal when someone doesn't open an email. Just warning you.
So is there any way of getting our email, or should we give it?
I'll get it, I'm
Should get
sure,
it from Tony.
Tony, yeah, I'll get it from Tony.
Go.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Oh, we got something done, you know?
Well, that concludes our Chamber of Commerce update. We can move on to new business.
Just wanted to mention one small business coming in. There's always new businesses coming into town, but I wanted to mention this one, Second Chances Curated Living, because it's opening in the lower rear level of Main Street Plaza, just 2 doors down from here. This is by being opened by a village resident who's had little shops on the State Street markets in Elgin and in Aurora, and she's been in Prestige Market before. I like businesses like this. You remember when Rebecca moved out of a home-based baking business and opened a little retail shop here. It's a very small space. It's fairly nondescript, but I wanted to mention it because I took a picture when I was in there. It's very cute.
Can you give us the address, Tony?
I didn't bring the address. I think it's probably like 348 or 350 South Main Street. It's basically behind Boss's Signature in the lower rear.
Behind where?
Main Street Plaza.
So do you know where Rebecca used to be when she first was at Main Street Plaza? The back. So in the back, there's a new cheesecake place that's taken Rebecca's place. So Cozy Cheesecake is there where Rebecca used to be. The Boss has 2 spots that he's doing things with, but then next to that, there's another storefront, and that's where she's going. So on that back end, you gotta go down the hill.
Second Chances, does that mean it's like concession or?
It's like, it's like a lot of it's kind of resale type of items.
Next.
Here, bringing this back up. It's, as a matter of fact, I believe she said she used to be in the barn in Banbury Fair quite a few years ago. So it's, I'm just mentioning a little new business that's coming in. It's going to open, Commissioner Perry asked about openings. It's going to open the second Friday of April. It's only going to be open on a limited basis, and she's going to have large sales on a quarterly basis over the period of 3 days. She has like 2 or 3 other locations. So it's a Bartlett resident who's floating around, a few different locations.
The opening is the second week of April?
Second Friday of April. I don't know the date off the top of my head. I'm going to guess it's about the 11th or 12th or something like that.
Who is the owner?
12.
I'm sorry?
Who is the owner?
I'm going to get that to you. I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
Bruce is like, ask Jan, I don't know.
I got a question.
Yes.
So there's a vacant land that's being cleared between Moretti's and Hyundai.
Andrea Scott.
Right. It's somebody who purchased that land, simply clearing it, most likely for future development.
There's nothing that's been turned in
Yeah.
on that property at
There's
this
no- Yeah, that's one of those things that a lot of people were asking. a few
They
days.
just bought the land and we don't know who's going to build on it.
Well, I mean, it was bought by the owner of the car dealerships. And that's not insinuating it's going to be a car dealership. It's just that he bought some land in between some of his real estate holdings, and it's being cleared.
No, historically, and especially on a road like Lake Street, clearage of property is an economic development tool. I mean, if you look at where the auto dealership cars are parked right now, and that specific property that you just mentioned, I mean, if you want to bring notice to your site for development, it's not a good look for development, because you're not now, as folks drive up and down Lake Street, it's clear as day where you see that's a property that can be developed.
Okay. Any further discussion on new business? Okay. Any other business anybody wants to discuss? Okay, that brings us to adjournment.
I motion we adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.